Hey everybody, it's Scott Bachhansen, Director of Congregational Care and Adult Discipleship here at Herndon United Methodist Church. And this is Real Talk. Real Talk is a weekly video check-in series where we're just coming to you for roughly 10 to 12 minutes each week to share something about what's going on inside the walls of the church or outside in the community. Something that maybe you'd find interesting, but it's really for us to be able to connect with you during the week. It's hard still in these COVID times. We don't get to see everybody as regularly as we would like. And so by being able to share some things that are happening, in our lives or in the congregation or with the staff or with the sermon series or anything of those things, this is where we get a chance to maybe share some of those details. So I am going to talk to you today about licensing school. And why is this important? Well, for me, I'm getting ready to go to licensing school. And so this is a big deal for me. But what's happened is, as you guys have heard about this, I've had some questions like, what is licensing school? Like, who gets to go to licensing school? If I wanted to go, how do I sign up? And so there's a lot of different moving parts, and it's hard to answer that question in just a quick 30 or 60 seconds, in between services or as we're walking down the hall together. So I thought I would try to give you a little bit more idea of what this means. And so first thing is something that happens before we get into the process. It's something that happens to you internally. I preached this weekend on how John Wesley had his heart strangely warmed right outside of a society meeting or a small group that he was with, and it happened on Aldersgate Street. And so we know this is Aldersgate Day, May 24th. It's when that strangely warm moment is when he realizes that he has salvation. And so for us that are going into ministry, there are a lot of people that have that aha moment. They have that one moment and they go, oh my gosh, I know where I'm supposed to go. And for a lot of them, it's very easy, and they just drop what they're doing and they start heading in that direction. For others, it may be a series of events or a series of conversations. For me, it was more of a series of events and conversations that had little milestones along the way. And one of the other things that was really important for me was I started hearing from a lot of different people saying, you should really consider going into ministry. And so one of the things that I did is I went to this thing called Candidacy Summit in 2013. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it in a minute, but this is where if you feel like you're being called to ministry and you're a certified candidate, you go and you get to have an opportunity to explore that calling a little bit more and figure out which path you want to go. And you're in a room with about 50 or 60 others that are in that same pace, the same space. So I went there. I was not yet a certified candidate. I got in because the district superintendent, Ken Jackson, just asked me to go, and he got me a place in. And after about 5 minutes there, I realized it wasn't for me. I had 3 more days of this. So I stayed the whole time just for the experience, but I realized that the people that were in there were farther down the road in their decision making than I was. I was really not in that place where I said, this is what I want to do and where I should be. I had a lot more discerning to do. And so that's part of this process. And then what ended up happening is I felt a few years later that, this is probably something that I'm a little bit more comfortable having a conversation with. So I had some conversations with Ken Jackson, but also Denise Honeycutt, who was my senior pastor at the time. And I was also her chair of SBRC. So I had a conversation with her and I said, I keep feeling and keep having these thoughts that maybe I need to consider going into ministry. And her response is like, okay, well, good, because all of us have been thinking this all along, and now you're finally starting to come to us. So she gave me a book called Christian as a Minister, and I just happened to have it. And so this is a book. This is kind of like the book that we used to get. I don't know if they necessarily give this book out anymore, but what it does, this book actually goes through all the different ways that you can be in ministry. And it doesn't always have to be as a licensed pastor or ordained or any of those things. It could actually, you could be in laity, you could be a lay servant minister. And so I decided to go and take lay servant classes just as a way to put my foot in the water and test it out. But what I found was I was really enjoying it. But at the same time, my career was, um, I was transitioning careers from technology sales to engineering sales, and I just started off really hot with that position, and I just took off. So it kind of became a back burner thing for the ministry because I was so focused on the work thing. Um, but after the pandemic hit, it just really it got to me, and I had just earned my undergraduate degree at the age of 48. It's never too late to go back if you are like me, so I would just want to share that. But I again felt this again, and so I kind of already knew the process because I'd been through the first couple of steps. I had contacted one of the clergy in my church. I had read Christian as a minister. I was a professing member in good standing in the church. I had my high school degree. I also had my college degree. And so now it was up to me to say, you know what? Now I feel like I'm ready. Now I feel like it's time. And so I ended up writing a letter, which is the next step to the district superintendent, stating that I wanted to be considered to be a certified candidate for ministry. And so from there, I sent the letter to the district superintendent, and I also have to send it to the chair of the district committee on ministry. And so I sent it to Jeff Mickle, who's the district superintendent, and Matt Benton, who was our DCOM chair. And from there, I had to go fill out a bunch of forms. I had to do a state background check, criminal background check. I also had to do a sex offenders background check, go through the registry process, fingerprinting, all that good stuff. And then I requested an interview with DCOM. And so I went to an interview, and I was asked a bunch of questions about my call and how I feel like this is the right time. And I shared with them about my previous experience where I realized that it wasn't the right time. And then now I have gone through the interview process, and I was accepted to continue going down what they call the certification. And so once you go through the certification process, you can become licensed. But there's a lot of steps. You got to pay the $75 fee because there's some things that you do. I was assigned a mentor. Now I could have my own mentors. So like right now, I would say that Pastor Jonathan, I would consider to be my mentor. But the district committee on ministry, when you first start, they assign you a mentor, and so you have to go through that mentor through certain things and processes, and so it's important that you follow along with the steps that they require. So I did that. I went back to Candidacy Summit. I was much more ready this time and felt more excited about it, and I just felt like it was more affirming at that point as opposed to like 5 minutes in I shouldn't be there. I was all in. I had to have a sit-down meeting with the pastor at St. Matthew's, who was just appointed, and so I didn't really know Pastor Mike at St. Matthew's that well. But I had to sit down with him. I had to submit a document, a statement of call to our staff parish relations committee at my church at St. Matthew's, not here at Herndon. And then I had to go interview with the SPRC and share with them my call and answer any questions that they had. And so this was just like the start of things. And then there was a charge conference at church, and so I had to go to the charge conference. This is where all the leaders of the different committees and the delegates and other people that are considered, basically the leaders of the church. I had to basically tell them that I felt like I was being called to ministry, and these are the people that I had been in relationship with, that had been ushering with, that had been in Bible study with, and much to my surprise, they were all like, "Well, it's about time." So I was like, "Okay." So maybe I was the only one that didn't see this. And so if you get approved by them, then you go to the next step. And the next step is this is where it starts to get serious. You do a more serious background check. You have to go through a medical checkup. A report has to be submitted by a physician about your physical well-being. You also have to do a candidate disclosure form. It's about 5 pages of just different things about you and your family and other things that you have to share. And then the heaviest thing was probably the psychological assessment. And so there's 3 parts to this. One is you had to take this long test online. It was 842 questions. Many of them were repeated. And then you had to sit down with a psychologist who went over each one of these answers, and it was almost like they were asking the same questions multiple times on purpose not to trip you up, but just to see if you were consistent with your answers. and they tried to find different ways to ask them. So it was kind of neat, but at the same time it was difficult. So you go through that, then you have to write 6 different reports, and then after that I had to go request an interview to be now certified. And so that's what I did last year, and I got certified. I went through the process, I got certified, but there was no appointments available for me. There was like 16 certified candidates, and I think there was 11 associate positions. I had multiple interviews. Most people, decided to go a different route, which is fine. That's, what they wanted to do. At the time, I was kind of disappointed, but I said, you know what, I'm going to just go through seminary, start taking classes, and go through that. And then I got the call in December about Herndon having an opening, and so I came here. And so I still had to go through the interview process, not only here at Herndon, but at other churches. And then I also had to go through the interview process with DCOM. After all that, they said, we think you're ready to be licensed. The district superintendent and Herndon and myself, we got together, we walked through, and we got this appointment set up. And so now I'm officially certified, going to licensing school, and will become the associate pastor here after licensing school. Actually, it'll be July 1st. We have to go through a bunch of other things. So, but there's a lot of steps, and that's really what I wanted you to hear. I didn't want to go through all of them, but licensing school, which happens next week, is pretty cool. I'm going to show this to you. I don't know if you can see this okay, but this is just what the schedule looks like. So from May 24th, which is Aldersgate Day, so May 24th through May 31st, I will be in classes basically from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. every day. And this is where we get basically a fire hose of information, and we go through a lot of different things about class, about what it's like to be a first-year pastor. We go through weddings and funerals. We go through preaching. We go through pastoral care. We go through how to connect with people. Leadership, administration. There's just a lot of things. But different people from all over the conference, especially locally in our district, considered the top people in these certain areas, are coming out to teach us. And I'm excited that Jonathan's one of them. He's actually coming out to teach us about preaching. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of stuff that happens, and the next 10 days gets to be really, really hairy. A lot of stuff thrown at you, and then I have to pass the final exam. I'm not necessarily worried about that, but you have to pass the final exam before you go, and then you go to annual conference. And then at annual conference, I will process in, I will get robed up, and I will get licensed. And it's really, I will tell you, it's a special day. It's a special day for me, and I think it's something that has been a long time coming. It will be live streamed, so not that I expect anybody to go to Herndon, but if you are interested in watching it, the ordination service is always my favorite service of the year. I'm pretty sure it's Friday night. I'll get the schedule here soon, but it will be an amazing night where you get to see me be licensed, but also other people become provisionals, and other people become fully ordained. And so in a few weeks, we're going to talk more about that ordination process. And the reason we're doing that is because Joanne is getting ready to start this process on her cycle, in which she's going to be for a deacon. And so we're going to share this with you to give you more education, so you kind of get an idea of what we're also involved in outside of pastoring and being part of the church. So I am really excited. I'm so thankful for all the positive words that you guys have shared. It's been a long time coming, and so if I get emotional about this, again, I shared with you guys this past weekend, I'm a big softie. So don't be surprised if you're watching the live stream and you see tears streaming down my face. I won't be wearing contacts that day because they'll just wash out. But it's an important day for me. I'm really excited about it, and I hope that you're excited for me, as well as excited for Joanne in the coming years. As she goes through her process, and as I eventually graduate from Wesley and get my Master's of Divinity, which Jonathan and Joanne already have. So I'm a little behind the times on them, but I'm really excited about where we're going. So anyway, thank you for indulging me to be able to share this with you. But I had a lot of questions about this, so I thought maybe it's a good time to share with you the background of what it looks like to be licensed and what the process is. So I hope you guys have a great week. I look forward to seeing you this Sunday. We'll be in the sanctuary at 10 o'clock and at 5 o'clock, and Pastor Jonathan is going to continue our series on confirmation for everyone. So have a great week, everybody.